last week, I was noticing that I wasn't really wanting to physically be around my husband. I wasn't wanting to sit next to him or hold his hand or have sex with him. So I was like, wait a minute, what is going on here? Because this certainly isn't like me. I love my husband, so why am I feeling so emotionally disconnected with him? And it was only then that I realized I must be upset with him. Yes, I know it kind of sounds weird that I might not know that I'm upset about something, but my body knew something subconsciously that my mind hadn't yet caught up on. And that was that we needed to talk. We need to talk. I think we can all agree that no man ever wants to hear those words. It is the married version of waterboarding. And if you have not heard of waterboarding, that is a term that was used to describe a torture process back in the time of war, where they would take somebody and they would lay them down, and then they would pour water into their nose, into their mouth, and would give the person the sense that they were about to die. So when you hear those words, like we need to talk, like this is never a good thing. Nobody ever actually sits you down to tell you just how awesome you are. But as much as it feels like it's imminent death, it's really not. It's actually a really good thing for your marriage. It's her way of saying, I need to connect to you. You see, both men and women want emotional connection, but the way that we get it is completely different. You see, for women, that emotional connection has to come first before she wants to have sex with you. But for men need to have sex with you in order to have the emotional connection. And a woman's nature is one that is responsive. So what is happening or not happening in your marriage is a direct result of a variety of inputs. You do something, she responds. You put in something different, she responds differently. And you can see just how responsive a woman is oftentimes when she remarries a man, and you'll see her be almost like this whole different woman, like, where was that woman when I was married to her? What you're seeing is a woman's nature. Apparently his inputs were better, meaning more effective, and therefore the output, which was her response, was also better as well. So wrong or ineffective inputs can really be an issue. But what happens when there's no inputs at all? Well, then there's nothing essentially for a woman to respond to. It's like if you're trying to go somewhere in a car that has no gas. You have to put the gas in the car first in order for it to then do its job to get you somewhere. It wouldn't make sense for you to expect the car to take you somewhere if you didn't put that input, that gas, into the tank. So the lack of a proper input serves as a roadblock to where you want to go. Which is why if I was a guy, my first thought would not be to point the finger at her, as so many guys do. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm fine. I'm down. I'm ready to go all the time. She's the one that has no sex drive. She's the one that needs to fix it. When I hear that from guys in my comment section, it tells me that he hasn't quite learned or has yet to quite understand a woman's true responsive nature. So if I were a man, I would first look at myself, because it would mean that there's probably something I'm doing or something that I'm not doing that is causing her to respond in the way that she is. So for a woman, emotional connection is necessary before she desires sex. But I want to be even more specific, because when I say that it's required for her to desire sex, it's not that it creates the desire. It's more that if it's not there, it's going to block it. So men, her responsive nature means that you have to go first. You must do those things that will, for her, translate into that emotional connection before she can do those things for you that lead to your emotional connection. So if that's something you're willing to do, and if you're married, I certainly would hope so, then the question would be like, how do I do that? Do you just think you could sit there looking all handsome and she looks over at you and this wave of emotional connection just comes over her? No, that's not connection. That's attraction. And attraction is highly important in the equation. I'm not saying it's not, but it's different. It's not connection. Do you think it comes from your effort at work to financially provide for your family? While that's very important, the answer is still no. So where does it come from? The primary way a woman feels emotionally connected with somebody is from talking. And I can practically hear the collective sighs of defeat from you guys through the camera. I'll die for my wife, but please, don't ask me to talk to her. So is talking really all that important? Well, I was on a Zoom call with a gentleman who is a member of my free community. Please go check that out. I'll go ahead and link that in the description. But he was telling me that, like most men, he would like to have more sex with his wife. I mean, who doesn't? And he told me that in some of the conversations he had had with his wife, that she had told him that she wanted to feel more emotional connection with him. And he didn't quite know what that meant. And I was like, oh man, like that's easy. What she's saying is she wants you to talk to her more. So you guys, this is why you need me in your corner. Like I can translate these things for you. But what was so simple for me, he didn't know really what that meant. As a woman, I understood exactly what that meant. Think about how men bond with each other. They'll gather together, and it doesn't matter if it's fishing or hiking or riding motorcycles together, whatever the activity is, it doesn't even really matter. But it's the activity itself and being in the general physical vicinity of each other that really is all a man really needs to feel connected and to have a good time. But when women get together, the activity or the environment of it is all to serve the primary purpose, which is to be able to talk to each other. So it's pretty common knowledge that men don't really feel the need to talk as much as women. In fact, you guys probably wouldn't talk much at all if you didn't have to. But for women, talking is not just a way to exchange information. It's their primary means of emotional connection. So yes, you do need to talk to her. There's no going around it. Just like there's no way of going around your need for sex. A strong emotional connection is the bridge to this strong sex life you desire. But Monica, you may say, I do talk to my wife every day. And there's still problems. Like, what's going on there? Well, while there may be actual words coming out of her mouth, it's probably in a way that doesn't necessarily provide that emotional connection she's looking for. In fact, the way that you are conversing with your wife may actually be inducing more harm than good. You may be unknowingly be making some huge mistakes that, if continued over a long period of time, will not only kill your sex life, but the marriage itself. So it's extremely important that you know what these mistakes are and you avoid them at all costs. And the good news is, I'm here to tell you what those are. There are 7 huge mistakes that men make that destroys their wife's emotional connection. And before I start, because I know what's coming, yes, I'm well aware that everything I say goes both ways. Today's episode is sponsored by Fat Burner Bombs. Part of keeping a marriage hot is looking the part. Men aren't the only ones who appreciate a hot body. But you don't only want to look hot for her, you want to do it for you too. But we all know as we get older how much more difficult it is. And that is why I wanted to let you guys all know about my new product, Fat Burner Bombs. It's a proprietary energy and fat burning blend that, when combined with a proper diet and exercise plan, might be that last missing piece in your fitness goal puzzle. And of course, there's a money back guarantee, so there's never any risk for you. So why not go ahead and give it a try today? Fat Burner Bombs, I will put the link in the description for you. So let's go ahead and get started. The first mistake that men make that destroys his wife's emotional connection is that he gets distracted. Today's biggest obstacle to emotional connection, not surprisingly, is your cell phone. You come home from work, she's probably been with the kids all day, she probably hasn't talked to another adult all day, or she has, it's nobody she likes. So you finally get home and she's excited. So she starts talking to you and sharing her day with you. Now you've also had a rough day, so you flop in the chair and breathe a big sigh of relief, and right in the middle of her story, you pop open your phone. Maybe you just want to check your favorite news app, or to make sure that your cities weren't attacked and destroyed while you were working, if you're into those types of online games. Or you may start reading your email. So instead of providing this focused listening that she needs in order for her to feel heard, you instead give her this obligatory once in a while, until she actually asks you a question, and then she gets no response. And she realizes that you weren't listening to her the entire time. And she will then either have to restart her whole story all over again, or she might just decide, you know what, it's not worth her effort. Thinking that if you were truly interested in what she had to say, you would have listened from the start. Why should she have to do the extra work when you're the one that wasn't listening? And she wouldn't be wrong. I cannot tell you how frustrating this is to a woman. When you pick up your phone in the middle of a conversation, what message does that send? It sends a message that she's not important. She's sitting there thinking, you know what, I'm sitting there trying to connect with him, and he doesn't even care. Am I so unimportant to him that he would rather read the news than have a conversation with me? And this is where all you men chime in and say, well, wait, Monica, she's on the phone way more than I am. And this is probably true, but it's the timing of when it happens that's really important. It shouldn't come before or during the time she's trying to connect to you, which is most of the time when you first walk through the door. She wants to share with you everything that's happening in her world. Not necessarily every corner of her mind, but the generalities, like the drama going on at work. Or maybe she needs some empathy from you because she's been stressed out from the kids all day. Or she may want to tell you about that gray hair she found, because she's a little worried that you might not think she's attractive when she gets older, and so on and so forth. And she needs to know that her husband cares enough to listen to her. Not because you find those tidbits of information particularly interesting, but because you're truly interested in her as a person and what's going on in her world. We all need that mental checkout that doom scrolling provides. You need it, she needs it too. But it has to be done after you've taken that 10 or 15 minutes to really connect with her when you first walk in the door. She needs that undistracted, focused listening and reconnecting that allows her to feel truly heard. The second mistake is that you interrupt her. We will often hear couples who have been together for a long time proudly tell another person, oh, we've been together so long that we can finish each other's sentences. To which I say, just because you could doesn't mean you should. When my husband does this, it drives me crazy. You see, he thinks he knows where I'm going with something. And a lot of the times, he's right. That's exactly where I was going. But there's also quite a few times where he thinks I was going to go with this story isn't where I was going with the story. So then I'll have to say, no, that's not where I'm going. And then I'll have to start the whole thing all over again. All because he didn't have the common courtesy to just let me finish a sentence. This behavior is so rude and so disrespectful. Would you ever think of doing this to a boss or your coworker, even strangers? Just interrupt them mid-sentence. No, you would never do that. So if you want to do that to other people, why do you do that to your wife? Because every single time that you cut off her ability to speak to you, you're shutting down her ability to connect with you. Speaking of shutting down, that leads me to number 3. The third mistake men make is that they just refuse to talk. When your wife approaches you with an issue, maybe she needs to get something off her chest, or there's just some kind of general problem that she wants to talk with you about, and you tell her, oh, I don't want to talk about it. Or in the middle of a conflict, you decide, you know what, I'm done talking about this. My friend, with those words, you have just taken the first step on the path to divorce. Like seriously, just start searching for your attorney right now. I get it. Nobody likes to hear we need to talk, but your marriage can't afford not to. When your wife makes the effort to communicate and comes to you in hopes of resolving an issue, and you shut that down, maybe because you think she's being ridiculous or too emotional, or you just don't want to exert that mental bandwidth to deal with it, she has no way to emotionally connect with you. You guys really need to stop thinking that if there's problems to discuss, that means that there's a problem with the marriage. All marriages have problems. Like living with another human being is very difficult, even ones that you like. There will be differences and gaps in expectations, and those will need to be worked out. So the presence of problems is not indicative of the quality of the marriage. Rather, how quickly you're able to resolve them is a far better indicator into the strength of the marriage. Now, if you're in the middle of a conflict and you just feel like you need some time to cool down, and maybe the emotions are too elevated, or you just need a moment, a pause is fine. But she has to know it is a pause, that you're not ending the conversation. Because when you simply tell your wife, I'm done with this, I'm not talking about it anymore, and you unilaterally block your wife's ability to communicate with you, that is akin to you telling your wife, I don't love you. And if it happens too many times, she will just emotionally check out. She will draw into herself, and she will keep herself emotionally and physically distant from you. Sex? Forget about it. Like that emotional connection is just not there. Beyond menopause, the lack of desire for sex from a woman is either going to be from a lack of attraction or from a lack of emotional connection, or a combination of those two. When your wife is reaching out to you, that's a woman who still loves you. That's a woman who's still invested. By coming to you, she's actually doing right by you. So don't punish her by refusing to have the conversations that she needs to have. Because if you do, it's you who's going to be the one who suffers. The fourth mistake that men make that destroys a wife's emotional connection is that he only wants to talk to her or listen to her about the things that he's interested in. So back in June of 2023, Michael and I were working out at the gym. We were taking a moment, resting in between sets. And he says, oh, hey, do I have a story for you? Now, him sharing stories with me isn't really anything new. He always has really interesting stories because of his work in law enforcement. However, the manner in which he said it, really emphasizing for you, had my curiosity piqued. So I lean in and I'm like, oh, really? What is it? So he proceeds to tell me about a call that came in the night before, how there was a person reporting that there were aliens in the backyard. Now, Michael knows I love a good conspiracy theory. I'm all about the aliens. So he continues, he's like, yeah, but that's not all. Another officer who was conducting a traffic stop caught on his body camera a bright blue light coming down from the sky 10 minutes away from the person who was reporting these non-human creatures. And this all happened around the same time frame, possibly providing a corroboration to the story. So I'm like, no way. And then he goes on to tell me about how all of this happened just 8 miles from our house. Now, this is a story you might actually remember because it did go viral and it ended up being this big, huge international story. What Michael did there, sharing something about his day, something he knew that I in particular would really enjoy, is a great way to establish that emotional connection. But he always doesn't get it right either. Michael had asked me to be better about sharing my day with him. But often I don't feel like I really have much to say because I work from home. So my days are pretty boring and routine comparing to his. Like I take the kids to school, I do some laundry, do some work on the computer, I make appointments, I make my video outlines. There's not a whole lot of deviation that goes on with my day. But in an effort to share my day with him, I remember telling him about either a news story or an article. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I sure as heck remembered his answer. He looked at me and he's like, why do you even care? And he said it in a way in which it was like he didn't want to hear about it. So I was like, hey, you're the one that wanted me to share my day with you. So what you're telling me is that you want me to share my day, but only talk to you about the things that you find interesting, the things that you want to hear about. Okay, all right, I got it. Okay, like even just retelling the story still fires me up. So the fact that I'm still remembering his exact words to me, and I can still feel how incredibly impactful those words were, should tell you that when a woman makes an effort in something that you have asked her to make an effort in, and you punish her for that, it will negatively impact your emotional connection with her. You can't choose which topics that you are going to actively participate in listening on and expect her to have a strong emotional connection with you. I understand you're not interested in hearing about purses or workplace drama, and she could probably care less about the history of the players of your favorite baseball team. But we both have to be willing to talk to each other about the things that the other person finds interesting, because it serves as a means for that other person to feel emotionally connected with you. Another mistake is that you go into pure logistic-based mode. When you've been married for a long time, you kind of think that you really know everything there is to know about somebody. So your investigation, your curiosity, your intrigue for what makes that person tick, that all kinds of goes away. And instead of spending time talking with her and learning more about her, is slowly replaced by talking only about logistics. The kids, the schedule, what's for dinner, the bills that need paid. It's all business. And while these things are all necessary to discuss, they certainly aren't fun and sexy. Can a woman truly feel seen as a person if the topics are solely logistic based? Does that afford her the opportunity to share the essence of who she is? It doesn't. You can say, I love you, but you don't even know the person who you were saying those words to. The woman that you married 10 years ago, 20 years ago, she's changed. She's grown. She's a whole different person. She may have new interests, new goals, new dreams. Who is she now? She probably doesn't even know. She's probably discovering who she is with each new phase of her life as well. So she is still discovering herself. What makes you think there's nothing left to learn about this woman? What if you decided to operate with the commitment of a married man, but the game of a single guy who is trying to lock down this hot babe? What would that do for your marriage? There's no reason to ever stop flirting with your wife. You can literally just decide to start again today. I was thinking about this, about how when you first start dating, everything is fun and flirty with a touch of logistics. But then as time goes on, it's all about logistics with a touch of fun and flirting. But there's no reason it has to be that way. Nobody forces you to stop. It just happens unless you intentionally decide to not let it happen. And I realized that I had been falling into this logistic-based pattern as well. So my husband and I had just finished wrapping up watching Star Trek Discovery. And for any of you Trekkies out there, you will know that each captain has a catchphrase that they will use to signal the pilot that they need to go to warp speed. Now, on Star Trek, The Next Generation, Jean-Luc Picard would say, engage. He always had the point of the finger too to do it. Captain Kirk would say, execute. And on Discovery, Captain Michael Burnham would say, let's fly. I can't quite say it like she does. She says it really good. And so I asked him that question, what phrase would you use? And apparently he got excited about me asking this question because, as you can see, he gave me quite a few options there. And it really kind of made his day. And you can see at the bottom, like he knew that this was not a normal question that I was asking, that this type of just random fun text wasn't something that was our norm. So why don't you do that? Why don't you decide to just stop being so logistic based with your text messages and your communication and start really exploring and having fun and flirting with your wife again? And if coming up with questions may be tough for you, there's actually a book here. It's called 3,000 Questions About Me. I'll put the link in the description. So there's actual books that you can use to help you out there. Or you can use technology. I don't know if you guys have been checking out Grok yet. It's the artificial intelligence created by Elon Musk. And I don't know if you have to go through X, but it does have its own separate app. I'm just telling you, that is hands down right now, as of the time of recording this video, the best AI. And ask the assistant to help you come up with fun and flirty text messages for your wife. You can let the assistant know about your wife, what she likes, what she doesn't like. She will not disappoint. This assistant is amazing. So check out Grok if you haven't already. So keep learning about your wife. Keep it fun. Keep it flirty. She will feel so seen by you. And a woman who feels seen is a woman who will be emotionally connected to you. The next mistake men make is that they rely solely on her to bring up issues. I remember one time asking my husband, I said, why am I always the one who has to bring up problems to you? I know there's things that I do that bug you. Why do you never bring these things up? What do you even do with that emotion? The fact is, too many men ignore issues that need to be brought up, justifying it in their mind by thinking that he's just choosing his battles and that he's just choosing peace over conflict. But if you aren't bringing things up once in a while, that tells me that you're not saying things that need to be said. And that is a failure of proper masculine frame. That is a failure in your male leadership. Because while the specifics of that particular problem may be forgotten, its underlying negative emotion will continue to brew and grow. And you will start the process of disengaging emotionally with your wife. You don't think we can't pick up on that negative energy you're holding on to? Women are social masters. We pick up on all the vibes. Gentlemen, lean in close. You get out of nothing. You either address the problems on the front side and your marriage gets stronger for it, or you kick the can down the road, laying in the bricks of anger, resentment, bitterness on the path to the land of emotional disconnection that you have chosen to walk due to your failure to proactively address issues that need to be addressed. It is not a fair ask that you make your wife be the only one that brings up and talks about problems. She will not feel emotionally invested in you, and she will view you as an ineffective leader. So stop kicking that can. And the last one is that she doesn't feel safe to talk to you. Safety is a core need for women, but men too often believe that that just means physical safety, having the ability to protect her from potential physical threats. But what you don't realize is that the core need for safety also includes emotional safety. The likelihood that your wife is going to need you to protect her against a real physical threat is actually really low, at least here in the US. But the risk to her emotional safety is extremely high. And the person who's likely to be the one that she needs protected from is you. But Monica, you may say, I'm not verbally abusive. Well, that's great. I mean, I hope not. But that's not even what I'm talking about. I'm not even talking about the extremes. I'm talking about her need to know that you're approachable. that you're able and willing to hear her concerns without you falling into your own emotional chaos. Can she do that? Or does the idea of approaching you cause her emotional anguish because your unregulated emotional immaturity and ego can't handle it? Are you her safe space that she runs to, or the place where she flees from? Can she speak her mind freely, or does she have to filter herself? Are you framed enough to stay calm even when you are hearing something that you perceive to be unfair or untrue? Or does she feel like she's walking on eggshells because her experience tells her that you don't have the ability to have tough discussions without you losing your shit? An emotionally dysregulated man represents a threat to her. Her body will know it before her mind does. It's not even logical to expect a woman to open herself up physically to a man who she can't open up to emotionally. We made it. That's a lot to go over. Gentlemen, love is a feeling, but it's demonstrated with action. And your refusal to talk to your wife, to afford her that ability to feel emotionally connected to you, it's the equivalent of her refusing sex with you. You can't expect her to be excited to have sex with you when her emotional bucket is not only empty, but filled with holes. Her desire to have sex with you is predicated upon your ability to show up for her first. It's also unrealistic and illogical of you to expect her means of emotional connection to be the same as yours. Women are not made the same as men. We don't have that testosterone that's constantly tapping your shoulders saying, hello, we need to get laid today. All of our core needs happen outside of the bedroom, and they can be met with or without sex occurring. Your unwillingness to talk to your wife, to allow her to be seen and to be heard, has devastating consequences on your marriage. She will feel distant from you. She will emotionally withdraw from you, forming an empty space that creates the opportunity for another man to come in and fill up. That's exactly what's going on when a woman decides to have an affair. It's the empty space, that missing emotional connection that she's trying to fill. And just like I say, I don't blame men for eventually stepping out on their wives when their means of emotional connection through sex have been withheld for years, if not decades. I hold the same mindset for men who choose to emotionally starve their wives. And if you've made it this far, you might as well hit that like and subscribe button. I'll see you guys next time.